everyone. Welcome to The Right Crowd. This is our third weekend, our third Sunday, and we are kicking off with a wonderful, wonderful, amazing panel of Poets, Volume 2. This is going to be so much fun in the sense that we will have our Q&A, and we'll get to get inside the minds of these wonderful writers and wonderful people, as well as listen to poetry readings, which I am immensely excited about, and be able to hear their work, hear straight from their heart, straight from their minds. It's going to be so much fun. And I see that we have a couple of viewers on Facebook and YouTube right now. If you are watching, say hi, drop a comment. We'd be more than happy to say hello. If you have a question during the Q&A segment, you can drop a question and the panelists will answer. And if you just like to say hi or hello or say something nice, then we'd appreciate that as well. So before we jump into the Q&A segment, I would like to introduce all of these wonderful people here. And so beginning with Ms. Priscilla Celina Suarez, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, what you write. The floor is yours.
Hi, first of all, thank you, Katelynn, for giving us this opportunity to join you and to just get together. We haven't done this in a while, so it's really nice to be here with all these crazies here, all these locals. You guys are, you know it. So I had a really incredible, wonderful opportunity that came about in 2015 where I was able to represent my city by becoming the McAllen's Poet Laureate. And that was an incredible opportunity. I learned so much about my community. And I also learned so much about just being able to go represent the city and the pride that people take with their poetry. And so doing that, I also had the opportunity to go to school. And one of the things that I learned is that everyone can relate to the cuentos that we hear from our family. So from that, I put together a book titled Cuentos Wela Told Me that scared the Beeswax out of me. And I'm really excited to announce that I just released the second edition. And so the second edition includes
awesome.
My dad was to call it a capirotada because I wanted to include not only the cuentos, but poetry, which are like the tongue twisters that even I can't say. They're very simple, but I can't. I have a lot of trouble with them. And of course, poetry lichos, which a lot of us who grew up in the Valley grew up listening to, and just little mementos, pictures, cositas así, capirotada. So that's basically what I've been up to this summer, and I'm really excited about it, and the opportunity to just listen to more cuentos and get to be the metiche and preguntona with my family, with my relatives and my abuelita, which is what they call us as poets and writers. We ask a lot of questions. Why? We're just curious. So they call us metiches. But that's about it.
Thank you very much. I love it. And Mr. Anthony Ripp, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell all the lovely people on Facebook and YouTube all about you.
Well, I'm a poet that started off as a musician for many years and then was looking for another genre. And I fell in love with poetry, the rhythm of it. So I started doing that and quickly found that it's a very, very addictive form of art. So just this year, obviously we're all in the same boat with the pandemic and the self-imposed isolation and stuff. But what I have found is that it's made me a better listener in a sense. I've been really exploring more writers, listening to interviews and monologues and just a bunch of different stuff that has really kind of expanded my writing style and skills. So, while there's a lot of downside to this pandemic and being home, for me as an artist, it's really served a wonderful purpose in the sense that, again, I think that when you're a poet, especially a poet, you really fall in love with the sound of your own voice at a certain point. And yeah, there you go, Julieta, I'm looking at you. And I myself fall into that category. And it's not necessarily being full of yourself, but you get so excited about the sounds that are coming out of your mouth, as you grow as a writer and a performer. So it's really allowed me the opportunity to shut up for a little while and listen more, and I think it's made me a better writer for that. So thank you for doing stuff like this. This is the way we grow, by listening to others. So it's awesome.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm happy that we can all share and continue to, you know, celebrate poetry, promote each other, and it's just going to be a really, really awesome. I'm excited for how the rest of the panel is going to go. I'm very, very excited. And Mr. Daniel García Ordaz, tell us a little bit about yourself, your writing, your published work. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, yes, thank you so much for having me, Katelynn, and everybody. It's great to share the screen with everybody else. I am a Gemini. I like long walks on the beach, and I love flour tortillas, but really corn is actually my first love, you know. So, you know, I mean, if they're homemade flour tortillas, I'm all there. But corn tortillas, that just speaks to me, speaks to my soul, makes me complete. So I feel like a rich man because I can usually, not always, buy an avocado almost anytime I want, almost. It was a luxury that was not always there, you know, growing up in the Rio Grande Valley of Deep South Texas. And, you know, I'm a school teacher now, and people don't really, it's hard for them to conceptualize the concept that I'm actually very introverted and shy on the inside because I talk too much these days, right? But poetry gave me that avenue to express myself and listen to others, like Anthony mentioned as well, and just to celebrate my language. And one of my books is called You Know What I'm Saying, and my most recent books is called Cenzontle, Mockingbird. Thanks for having me.
Very nice. Thank you so very much. And Ms. Julieta Corpus, please tell us all about yourself, all about your work. The floor is yours to tell us all about who you are, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thank you, Katelynn, for this wonderful opportunity to see my buddies. I love you all. I miss you all. I am originally from Rio Bravo, Tamaulipas, and spent a wonderful childhood in San Pedro, Coahuila. And from San Pedro, Coahuila, I have this treasure trove of memories and experiences that I have written about and continue to write about extensively. I was a quiet kid. I was usually drawing or writing or making up stories in my head, singing along to balladeers like Camilo Sesto, Napoleon, Jose Jose, Juan Gabriel, another treasure trove because because I'm a romantic, and I have written romantic poems inspired by those balladeers. I didn't start showing my work as a poet. I was always writing, but I wasn't showing. My poems were under the mattress and I would share them with my family. It wasn't until this guy to my right came along with VIPF, the Valley International Poetry Festival in 2008, that I participated. That opened doors, man, that just burst the dam wide open. I started hosting poetry events. I participated in a lot of readings. It gave me the opportunity to also be included in anthologies. I've traveled with my poetry. I have published in journals and, like I said, anthologies. And I'm currently working as a bilingual translator. I'm translating for, I'm not going to say because I don't know whether she wants that to be known, but I have a job as a translator right now. I'm also mentoring 3 kids and telling and sharing my mother's stories with them. And I found that they're a wonderful audience. They're a wonderful audience. They are asking me now for stories. I just had to tone down the scary parts because I think I was giving one of the kids nightmares, and I was told, tone it down, Julieta, or you're out of here. So I'm toning it down. But I love sharing my scary stories about La Llorona Loca, El Hombre Sin Cabeza, La Mano Pachona, all those stories. I grew up with that. So I have, I've been collaborating with 2 wonderful ladies, one of them a poet, Katie Hirth, and the other visual artist, Corinne Whitmore. And for 4 years, we've been collaborating. We have a book coming out in the fall, and it's Borderland Mujeres. I'm very excited. It's gorgeous. I cannot wait to have it in my hands. They did say fall 2020, but because of this pandemic, I don't know whether it will come out in the fall, but it definitely will be published. We sent final revisions, and it's on its way. And that is all for now. I am looking forward to sharing the poems I've selected for this afternoon. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And I love the top secret aspect of it. Like for the translation, like it adds the mystery, like, ooh, more to come, more to see.
Big name, big name.
But we do have some comments coming in. The library channel over on YouTube says, hello, awesome people. Hello.
Yay.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And Raul Martinez Jr. here from the Rio Grande Valley says, hi, Katelynn, Priscilla, Anthony, Daniel, and Julieta. Hi, Raul. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And another local author who will be with us this afternoon at 4 o'clock, Ana Cavasso, says, hello, everyone. Glad to hear more about you and your work.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in. And Miracle Austin, an author from Waco who was on the Right Crowd yesterday, says, hello. Hi, Miracle.
Austin, go. Austin.
Hey, Miracle.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for tuning in. So, with those introductions out of the way, I would love to go ahead and jump into Q&A and get, inside the minds of you all, because, poetry is something that's just so rich and so like vibrant and so beautiful. And I've always thought that it's had this unique element that, everyone has the ability to write in different genres and different types and different topics, but there's just a sense of like eloquency and just like beauty in poetry that, you all can just take these, they're at the basis of it, they're just words, but you put them together and form them in this beautiful, like profound, like you make people cry and make people feel and make people laugh. And we carry these words with us and you make these metaphors and all sorts of things. It's absolutely beautiful. And, I try my hand at poetry and I am nowhere near the level that I wish I could be, but I am so excited for the reading aspect of just to be able to hear you all and, listen to the readings firsthand. And I'm so happy that everyone on Facebook and YouTube will be able to hear as well. But I'm also excited to just get, inside y'all's heads, like where these words come from and the different thought process and insight. I'm excited. So we can begin with my first question, which is just simply, where are you tuning in from? We have Rio Grande Valley representation here, and I love it. So what city are you tuning in from, beginning with Mrs. Suarez?
McAllen, Texas.
Very nice. And Anthony Ripp, where are you tuning in from?
I'm here at my humble home in Harlingen, Texas.
Me too.
Oh, neighbors.
There we go.
For a cup of milk later.
Do it.
Milk and cookies.
Milk and cookies. And Mr. Daniel, yes, Mr. Daniel García Ordaz, where are you tuning in from?
I was born in Houston. I grew up in Mission, home of the grapefruit and Coach Tom Landry, but I'm reporting live here from the city of Palms, McAllen, Texas.
Very nice. And Julieta Corpus, where are you tuning in from?
I'm tuning in from my colorful home in Donna, Texas.
Very nice. Thank you all so very much. So my first question that's going to kind of dig in and pull some essence out is what genre of poetry do you tend to write and why? And I feel like on the surface, this question can just be answered like, oh, I like to write, this kind. But I feel like it might stem in 100 different directions, or it might depend on what you're feeling or what you're trying to express. So what kind of genre do you tend to write and why, beginning with Priscilla?
Jeez, I don't know if I could say I write a specific type of genre. It's all over the place. I'm basically, I really don't know how to explain that. I basically write about my family and the valley and the experiences we're going through. And I don't know if I could put it into any genre, like specific genre.
I like it though. It's like you write about what you know and you take those experiences into a way that other people can relate and make it into something beautiful. That's really good. So Anthony Ripp, what type of genre do you write about, or why? Or is it, do you relate to Priscilla in the sense that it just kind of happens and it's pulled from what you know?
Yeah, I definitely relate to Priscilla. I think my very first love when I was just a kid was Shakespeare. And I love writing very classic poetry. I learned the art of description through Shakespeare. And when I started writing, it was a very classic style. Still, honestly, my favorite style. I just absolutely love that. But then, again, you go out to different open mics and being able to host certain events and stuff like that, you start to kind of open your horizon. My stuff is extremely descriptive. Right now, I mean, I do a lot of beat poetry. I mean, just everything. Yeah, I don't think that once you kind of, I think that when you're starting off as a writer of any type, you're specific to a certain genre, but it's inevitable that you're just going to outgrow it, you know, because you start going in so many different directions, and that's the beautiful part about performing and being a writer in general, is that, man, there's no cage that's ever going to hold you or your words, you know what I mean? And once you kind of develop into the performer that you are, then you can take anything and run with it, and I think that's the fun part.
Very nice. And Mr. Ordaz, what type of genre poetry do you write and why?
Oh yeah, it's García Ordaz or Garcia. Thank you. Well, I like the classic forms as well. I really enjoy the challenge of a villanelle, for example. Definitely enjoy some sonnets, and I know it's mushy and corny, but yes, I like to write love poems too. And because love is all you need, right? And so I love writing haiku also, though, and recently I've been enjoying the challenge of writing spoonerisms. So spoonerism is like, instead of saying like stone cold, you'll switch things around and it'll be like scone told, things like that, where like, you know, you play with it and see what happens with it. And yes, it's a little silly, and yet you can still be deep and have something to say with that.
Very nice. I had never heard of that before. That's really interesting. And
Yeah,
Miss Julieta Corpus.
Sorry, I think the gentleman that came up with it, I think he had some sort of like dyslexia issue, so he kind of like played with that and just went with that. So thank you.
That's cool. Like taking something unique and turning it like into a new, creative, positive, innovative. That's really neat. That's really interesting.
Yeah, way to go, Daniel. My genre, just like Priscilla, I also write a lot about my family, my background, stories de mi madre, stories de mi abuela. I learned a term, confessional poet, while pursuing my creative writing degree or my MFA at UTRGV. So confessional, I think that's what I write, because if you look at my poems, if you read my poems, it's me. It's all about what I have gone through romantically and otherwise. So it's all out there. I'm an open page. I'm an open book. Just read me.
I like that though. I feel like that adds a sense of like connection with the readers or like audience members. It's just, there's a sense of genuineness and true, like, you know, togetherness when you can see that it comes from a place within, and that's really, really nice and interesting. So my next question for you all would be, how has our current world situation impacted your writing career? And, you know, it would be nice if, you know, we could say like, oh, being home and having to stay distance, this is the most, you know, productive I've ever been. I've never been, you know, so efficient and everything, but that's not the way it always goes. So has this been a time for you to write more, or are you focusing on different aspects, working on other projects? Have you been able to connect with different people? Just how has our current world situation impacted your poetry or your writing in that sense? Priscilla?
I would say I spent maybe the first 4 or 5 months of the pandemic not doing anything. Just the isolation. For me, I need to connect with people. And in the Valley, we have a really great community of poets. And so it's just not being, you know, just randomly getting together for coffee or, you know, meeting up at the library, or I don't know. It just not being able to have that connection really impacted me. And so through the depression, the isolation, I didn't even want to read. I didn't want to pick up anything. So it wasn't until actually a few weeks ago where I started picking up the pen again, and I started writing and reading. So the pandemic has hit me really hard, and my creative juices just haven't been there. So, you know, it's taken me a while to actually start creating and writing and just having that motivation.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of creatives can relate in just the sense that, you know, it's it's in a sense exhausting to be able to like turn on like the news or open up like social media and see everything that's going on. And you know, with writing being like an escape or a place to create, it is difficult to find like that motivation and that like juice to continue to create. But we persevere and we keep going. And I'm so very grateful that you're here and able to like promote and speak and read, because you know we need to connect and we need to continue to, you know, even in things that might not be happy, there might not be a lot of like positivity if you don't go looking for it, but we can still be here and persevere together. And I'm very glad that you're here. And so, Mr. Anthony Ripp, how has our current world situation impacted your own writing or your own poetry or other projects?
Well, you know, for me, it kind of forced me to continue to be creative. I didn't have, well, I don't want to say I didn't have the opportunity to stop. You know, I am a local business owner. I own a home health. I'm a nurse, and we've been treating our patients throughout the entire pandemic, stuff like that. And of course, you know, there's a lot of horrors that we've seen out here with it. And for me, being a writer has been an amazing outlet, because there's a lot of stuff that that you come home with, you know, a heavy heart and the knot in your gut and the fear that you have about going in and treating patients and stuff like that, you know. And these are all very real things that the general public goes through, more so. Maybe I'm saying this selfishly, but more so as a nurse, because you're there constantly every single day with your hands on these patients. And for me, writing has really been a lifesaver, because it's really kind of let me pull all of these emotions out, and at the very least have them on a piece of paper. For right now, I started writing a series called The Year of the Virus, which is more for me. They're extremely dark poems, but I think that just the climate that we're going through right now in the world has really, really, really allowed me to continue writing and really dig deeper than probably I would have ever done. So again, I mean, for me, it's been a real reflective time, and I can honestly say I've taken the opportunity to grow, and I've grown by leaps and bounds here, because it's forced me to look at myself in the mirror.
Very nice. I feel like there's a sense of catharsis too, like just taking it all and channeling it and growing from there. That's really nice. That's a really good sentiment. And so, Mr. García Ordaz, how has our current world situation impacted your own writing and, you know, poetry career?
Yeah, excellent question, Katelynn. I mean, like Priscilla mentioned, I mean, I'm a social butterfly too. I'm a social being, and I just need that. I even when I was in undergrad, I mean, I needed some noise to study, because growing up, that's how it was at the house, right? You know, so I needed a tiny bit of distractions, and now without, you know, I think as a writer, something that helps me in the editing part of creativity or creating poetry, especially, is the sharing out loud, is the reading out loud to an audience, and not necessarily getting any formal feedback, but just observing, and yes, maybe conversations about it afterwards. But you know, you say a line that you meant it one way, and suddenly there's chuckles, or suddenly there's sighs, or people pass out, or whatever, who knows, or unfriend you, or whatever. So that interaction, you know, with the audience, and it's missing in that creative process of the importance of, in poetry at least, and certainly for spoken word poetry. So I tried to be as proactive as I could from the very beginning. I'll go pretty much weeks without watching the news, and I'll still listen to it or read about it. But as far as like television or whatever, which I used to be a news junkie for forever, but I've tried to be proactive. And so we started Zoom meetings right away with family. So every Sunday we get together a couple times with family from even local as well as far away, just to kind of keep connected with all the tios and tias and primos and everything like that, and mom. And and similarly, like with, you know, the pandemic affected the VIPF, the Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival, in April. So we went, like I said, we were proactive and just planned on a virtual event, and we still had a 4-day event virtually, and continued that with Lunadas and rather with the Huitzilopochtli writing workshop in the summer as well. And so right now I'm doing some long-term planning, not just for VIPF, but just with my own writing as well, and for future community events that'll affect veterans here locally, and something for artists as well. So just kind of that helps me planning, and kind of gives me that distraction. And it's been on and off with television as well as with the writing. There'll be surges, but I've been doing more reading more than anything else.
Very nice. Like focusing on other projects and continuing to like broaden and expand. It's really good. Like staying productive, and then like the distraction as well to keep you motivated. Very nice. And Ms. Julieta Corpus, how has our current world situation impacted your own writing or poetry?
Well, in the first few months, I guess I was in shock, just like a lot of people. I had plans to go to Cuba and see my husband. Well, that went down the toilet. That didn't happen. And I didn't have a job to go back to. I was already working as a tutor, a migrant tutor for the Donna Independent School District. And, well, that ended as well. So everything came to a standstill. Creatively, I started saying yes to readings, of course, on Zoom. But just like Daniel said, I do miss, even right now, I'm missing that interaction with an audience. But I started saying yes to opportunities. I had the opportunity to work with Emi Perez and Lupe, La Unión del Pueblo Entero, giving workshops through Zoom. And that was wonderful because it was working with adults and with children. And I loved it. It was a great experience. And creatively, I was approached by Katie Hirth, my team, and Corinne about entering Texlandia contest for $1,000. I'm praying. And so we started meeting every week, almost every day, for an hour on Zoom, choosing the poems. We chose a poem from Borderland Mujeres, and then Corinne did something beautiful visually, and then it's a gorgeous piece, and we submitted, but it was a month-long project. And that took my mind away from what was happening around me. But at the same time, I was staying creative as well. I did 8 weeks of workshops on Facebook. I would go live. And I received great feedback from people. They would send me private messages, and they were telling me they were enjoying it. I do plan to pick those up again, continue with them, because I miss them. I love doing them. So in the near future, I will start scheduling some. My life during the pandemic has been walking across the street to spend time with my dad and just sit and talk with him for an hour or so, and then come back and take care of my fat cat, Tintan, and try to write. I did start a journal. I remember when I was younger, I always kept a journal, un diario, and I would write every day. But this time, I have an online journal just for myself, my eyes only. And I have grabbed images from the internet and photographs and headlines, and I'm including them in the journal about what's going on with me, what's going on out in the world, well, locally as well. I include some numbers of COVID infections and just a little bit of everything politically and health-wise. So that's also a great way for me to, who knows, it may be a source for something later on, a poem, 2 poems. And one thing that I am currently doing as well, I finally have sat down and started editing my manuscript to send it off for publication. And the title of it is Of Love and Departures. And it's an emotional ride, but I'm sticking to it, and I'm going to see it through. Great question, Katelynn.
Very nice. I'm so excited, and wishing you all the best with every little detail and every little thing. I'm excited. That's wonderful. And so I have 2 more questions on my end before we get into the reading. But again, for anyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you'd like to leave a comment or ask a question, go ahead and comment, say hi. And, I'd be more than happy to bring it on screen, and the panelists can interact. We can engage. We want to keep this as interactive and, connected with the audience as possible. So my second to last question for you all is, where do you draw inspiration for your writing or inspiration for your poetry? And I know this question might be multiple ended with, it could be, everyday little things, or there's like a specific place you like to draw from, or, this could go a million different directions. But where do you tend to draw inspiration for your poetry, beginning with Priscilla?
I actually learned a lot about poetry from Daniel, who has been my biggest mentor since I met him, or since the first time I saw him reading, which was like, I don't know, 2003, around there. And so one of the things that I learned from him is how important it is to document our stories. And so that's one of the things, documenting life in the valley, documenting my family, documenting, just everything that's happening here, our lenguaje, our language, our food, our culture, the frontera. It's something that it had never occurred to me that we could do that, or that we should do that. And so I learned from him and from Lady Mariposa that how important that is. And writing poetry for me is very difficult because I go on and on and on and on and on, and I have to come back and just chop up the poem. So, but that's the main thing, to document our stories. And it's very important for us to be able to do that, and for us to continue doing that, and for us to show, our younger generations, older generations, how important and how distinct and how unique our voices are. Because, we experience different things, and at the same time, we're from the same region. And it's just very important for us to do that. And so I'm really grateful to have so many mentors in our community that, I continue to learn from them.
Very nice. I love that so much. And again, just like being able to like be here and connect and like share the love and like to promote and connect. It's wonderful. It's truly wonderful. So Anthony, where do you draw inspiration for your writing and your poetry?
I mean, a lot like Priscilla. I mean, just from the people around me, I'm extremely blessed that I still have my grandparents at 96 and 92 years of age. So they're an enormous source of inspiration. They're wonderful storytellers, more so my grandmother. But I also have the advantage of, again, being a nurse and working for long term with so many patients, that I don't only have my family. I have tons of different storytellers out here because I'm working with the elderly. And from our region, as well as I've had a patient before who was an actual Holocaust survivor, had the tattooed numbers on his arms. That was really interesting speaking to him. Right now, I'm treating a lady who is here now. She's German, was in Germany when Hitler was in power, and the stories that she tells me, I mean, just mind blowing. You know what I mean? So I have that advantage that I have so many different families to draw from. But also I spend a lot of time in the junkyard and scrap yards and stuff like that, and I love building stuff. So there's a real rhythm even in the chaos of a scrapyard and stuff like that I look for that rhythm. Bars and stuff like that, when you could go, I mean, look, Orpheus Gones, right? Priscilla said it best, Orpheus Gones. I am a people watcher, and I'm not checking you out, but I'm going to be staring at you. Okay, I'm gonna be staring at you because I'm looking at your nuances. I'm looking at the way your lips move when you're speaking. If you tilt your head back when you laugh or not, we're people watchers, So yeah, man, you steal from the best, and the best is all the way around you. Take what you see and make it yours, and change the names and dates to protect the identity of those innocent, and so you don't get the innocent plagiarism sort of thing.
I love it. Oh my goodness. And I know, referring back to Priscilla's answer, Miracle Austin had said, document our stories. Love that. And I think a good segue to Daniel García Ordaz's answer, we have a comment coming in from Patricia Rentería saying, congratulations to Daniel García Ordaz for the Art Spark Texas Artist of the Month. And then to everyone, you all are an inspiration to us all. So, yes. So that leads us to your own answer of, where do you draw inspiration from your writing, and how did how does one become the Art Spark Texas Artist of the Month? Let us know.
Well, first I was afraid. I was petrified. That wasn't mine. That was, I don't want to. So, I mean, I think as artistic people, and I do believe this sincerely, not in a wishy-washy way, that we're all creative. Even in prison, you will find very creative people, some unfortunately, some who were, bored in the classrooms or in society and just, made some wrong decisions, downright genius level, frankly. So I think we all have some creativity in us. And for me, whether it's through sports, which I was never chosen, I was a short, last one chosen sort of deal, if I was chosen at all. But it doesn't mean I didn't like sports, nevertheless. So you're inspired, by sports, by music all around you. Certainly for me, but food and our culture in general. And so I started capturing that as a photographer, amateur photographer. I mean, though later I did have some artistic exhibits and that sort of thing where I was able to display some of my work. And so that's part of the Art Spark Texas. But mostly, of course, from my writing, from my time as a journalist, I know the director / screenwriter Nora Ephron, who passed away a few years ago. She talked about this. She said, the best advice I can give young people, sure, a lot of people show up to Hollywood and they have an amazing first movie as a director, as a writer. Often it's sort of both, but then they're out of ideas because they haven't lived, they haven't experienced. And her advice was, go be a journalist. Then you can, like Anthony mentioned, you can, see other people's, if he's going is right, we get ideas from other people's lives, and there you create what you see. So definitely get inspiration, like Priscilla mentioned, like from my fellow writers and creative folks, from my fellow artists, painters, friends who are musicians as well. So then just from my faith and family. So a little bit of that sort of trickles into my writing, I think. But there's so much inspiration all around us, even in a difficult time, even in when we're depressed or down about our situation. It's important to find that inspiration in those quiet moments because we don't have the loud, good group gatherings right now that we're normally used to, football games and other things, parties and quinceañeras that inspire our writing and our music and our art. But in those quiet moments of family time or just reflection, maybe this is a good time for that sort of slow down, as sad as we might become. So that reflection has just inspired me to kind of look back. And I have taken the opportunity to go ahead and participate in some Zoom readings as well, right? To kind of keep me connected, right? Which is so important, as y'all mentioned. And I get inspired by talking to students too. Not just as a teacher, but like I was able to work with the Brownsville Housing Authority this summer to do a writer's sort of workshop event, as well as, and then I've just done some like guest lectures through colleges and universities that have reached out to me to share my poetry or about my ideas. So just that connection, even though it's virtual, discussions with people that normally we don't have a chance to talk to students in California or even in Brownsville, even here nearby. We don't have access to that normally in face-to-face situations. So the inspiration comes also from just the opportunities that you take to be proactive and connect with others.
Very nice. Thank you. And congratulations again. And so, Ms. Julieta Corpus, where do you draw inspiration for your own writing and your own poetry?
For my writing, for my poetry, for a while there, I was taking some Sunday rides in my car until it conked out. Now I don't trust it. and I would look around. I love nature, so I would draw some inspiration from that. Also, I'm a teacher of Fisgona, and I keep my eyes open, my ears open whenever I'm out and about, listening and watching. I think that's the best school. I have always said that poetry is all around us, and so inspiration is all around. I have a group here on Facebook, Howls from El Monte. And what I do is every Saturday I assign a prompt, and then whoever wants to write to that prompt, they do so. And I did a lot of writing from that. It's an ongoing. There's not a lot of participation right now, but I think it's because we go through these periods of inactivity, where I guess we don't have the drive, or we're very busy with whatever it is that we have going, with our families, with everything. It's a long list. So it's okay. I'm still keeping the group active and giving those prompts. The latest one was what terrifies you as a child, and maybe draw inspiration from that to write a poem. The workshops that I was conducting online as well every Saturday were also a source of inspiration. That's why I want to go back to them. The people that I'm collaborating with, I've been blessed that I was approached by both poet laureates, Emmy Perez for projects and Rodney Gomez. So that is wonderful, and it's opening doors and now translating for this other poet, for this other writer. It's also a great opportunity to to be exposed to different types of writing as well. I'm saying yes to Zoom readings, even as far as Michoacan. I participated. I sent a video to Cupatizio poets, and that was from I'm gonna say Uruapan, but it wasn't Uruapan, but it was from Michoacan. And so I was able to view videos from all over Mexico and the United States. People were sending in their video with one poem, but that's exposure also to different poets, different writers. What else am I doing? Well, like I said, working on my manuscript. I'm going back into the poems. I'm editing. I'm deleting poems that I was like, what the heck is this doing here? Out you go. So that's another way to stay creative. And I have my source for the news is the New York Times, but not only just for the headlines, that what's going on right now with the election and the virus, but also because they have articles on everything: science, fashion, art. You might call me morbid, but I like to read the obituaries because it's always these fascinating people, and they have inspired poems as well. So that's another source. And I also subscribe to a poem a day from poets.org. So every day I get a poem, I'll open. I may not be opening them up every day, but if the title of a certain poem strikes my fancy, I'll open it, I'll read it, and that might give birth to a poem of my own. So yeah, inspiration is everywhere, and I love writing.
I love that. And I know like a gem from that just, it was in my head and it kept replaying was just, where you said poetry is all around us, so inspiration is all around. Like that's so nice. That's so beautiful. And we do have another comment coming in from, she was on a panel yesterday for Panel of Poets Volume 1, Ms. Nelly Gonzalez saying, saludos, un gran evento. Hi.
Hola, Nelly.
Thank you for watching. And so my final question for you all before we jump into the poetry reading segment is, what do you hope to accomplish through your poetry? And again, this could go in several different directions. What do you hope to accomplish personally? Either this is cathartic for you, you're trying to, figure out what's in here and get it out into the world, into something tangible that you can read. Are you trying to reach an audience? Are you trying to spread a message? Do you hope to move on and get to certain levels at some point? Like, what do you hope to accomplish through your poetry, beginning with Priscilla?
Híjole, that's a tough question. I think just going back to documenting our experiences and learning from my community is like, it sounds weird, but through poetry, I've been able to experience other people's poetry. I've been able to, I've had people, I work at McAllen Public Library, and I've had people who have gone to my readings just show up at the library just wanting, a few minutes to talk and express themselves. And, just people from like, the most unlikeliest corners is stopping by and just being motivated to write their own poetry and to share their own poetry. And so that's very important that, we write our stories. And that's right now I can't really think about it, but there's so much to say, but I'm going to narrow it down to that.
Very nice, thank you. And Anthony, what do you hope to accomplish through your poetry?
Well, the same thing that I've always been after. I want to inspire emotion and not opinion. You know, I've never been a writer that shares an opinion on anything. I try to provoke an emotion. If I made you cry, then I did my job. Not because I'm trying to, but because I moved something inside of you, right? And it's, you know, this is just simply me. We have enough opinions out there with people who, you know, there's so many memes now and so many this, you know, everybody will post something like this, you know, but that doesn't inspire an emotion necessarily. That just tells you what somebody, you know, said, oh, burn, they said this, you know, and I'm not about that stuff, man. I want you to feel something. The pandemic definitely quieted me down in a sense. You know, I love the sound of my own voice, obviously. But when I started working with the COVID patients, I didn't want to talk to anybody. You know, I just wanted to be quiet and absorb my own life and my existence, and how lucky that I am that I get to come home, and how crazy I am to go to work in that situation and stuff like that. So I didn't want to have contact with anybody at all, and I just wanted to get back to what's going on inside of me, and that's what I try to push out when I write my poetry. And also, I want people to smile. You know, I'm a storyteller. I'm a natural born storyteller because my entire family are storytellers. So sometimes, you know, it doesn't have to be anything other than, oh man, I made that person smile because they really dug that little piece that I wrote there. Maybe it reminded them of the box fan in the window when they were kids, you know. So that's it, man. Just emotion, not opinion.
I love that. And another gem, just like from the conversations, you know, inspire emotion, not opinion. I love that very, very much. And Daniel, you know, what do you hope to accomplish through your poetry and your writing?
Yeah, I mean, again, with this whole COVID situation, and for me, I was also involved in a car crash, and so during this COVID time, I went under the knife twice in February for my shoulder, and then in June, I think it was, for my knee, surgeries to fix the repair from the car crash. And so, I mean, it was an emotional time. I mean, there's nothing routine about any surgery, right? I mean, in a sense, right? You have to be prepared. I mean, you have to have that, say those last goodbyes in case and all that. And get your ducks in a row. So, I mean, that was also something that was hovering, right, during this whole time as well. And so I've been just trying to heal, right, and I'm definitely on the path toward that, and I appreciate my friends and family for their well wishes and prayers and good thoughts, and just slowly, I mean, it's affected my soul seeing like my plants die and my roses die, things that I couldn't take care of my yard, and not so much the yard but the plants, right. That's part of my upbringing, part of my fabric, the fabric of my life is my relationship with plants that I acquired from both my father and my mom and my abuelitas and so on. And so, you know, because I'm physically unable to kind of care for those plants and stuff, or to plant something new and see it grow, and you know, that's affected me. So, but having to say, not necessarily say goodbyes, but I mean, just kind of prepare for this is it, right? I mean, this could be it. This could be it. Not just with the pandemic, but with my surgeries. I mean, moving forward, I mean, something I felt like even then, during those times of surgeries, like I had to make peace with, like, this has been my life so far, and I have you know, been blessed, and I have, you know, 3 wonderful children, and you know, my wife and I have built, you know, this family, and this is part of my legacy that I'm leaving behind as well. Those are our poems, right? Or our children too. I mean, those are the poems that matter the most anyway. They're going to make an even bigger impact in life than I ever can, and more practically on the poetry level and writing. So like you mentioned, yeah, I've been blessed to be part of an anthology that's coming up, Living Beyond Borders, which is Valley Writers put together by Margie Longoria, excellent librarian, and part of also that not wake up call, but just being ready to, you know, one question: what is my legacy? I have some songs that I've written for years, and I just, you know, even though yes, I sing and so on, when I perform, I've not had the wherewithal. I don't have the background. I don't have the how-to of how to get music out there. So that's something that's where I'm going next, and what my part of my legacy hopefully will be is getting that music out. So that's something I've been working low key on during this COVID time as well, and I hope that, happy as I am with what I've done so far, I would like to also sort of put that out there in the world. So Thanks so much for asking these great questions.
I love that. A lot of good points and true, like accurate, like deep things to like reflect on and think about. Absolutely. Thank you. And Miss Julieta, what do you hope to accomplish through your poetry and your writing?
Fame and riches. And we all want that. Borderland Mujeres is going to catapult me to stardom, and I'm going to leave the valley. I'm telling you all right now.
Remember us. Remember us.
As I mentioned before, I miss being live and reading in front of an audience, because many times I would have one person or two people come up to me afterwards and say, ese poema me recordó a mi abuelita, ese poema me movió a mí, me conmovió. And make, like Anthony said, eliciting an emotion, tears, laughter, shock. I miss that a lot. But these are the times we're living, right? So we have to do this Zoom. I'm also, by sharing the stories that my mother told me and putting them in poetry form or in short story form, I'm hoping that I am in some way creating writers as well, I want them to think, así, esa es la historia. Man, I have stories also, and I can tell them, and I want to tell them. Yeah. And then I want them to grab a pencil, grab a pen, or sit in front of their laptops and start writing. I want them to realize that they have a story too. Everybody has a story or stories. And if it's not their own right now, because they may be too young, then it's the stories that their abuelitos, abuelitas, mamá, tías, that the family told them and passed it down to somebody else, to their own children, by recording them for posterity. So that's what fulfills me. When somebody says, your poem moved me, or I have a story just like that, or, and so on and so on. Yes. To inspire people that way, to write.
I love it. It's those connections. It's those real, genuine connections. And I again, like, even though we're not in person, like, even if that connection can be established like virtually or through, the eyes of the reader in the published work, like, it's a wonderful thing. And before we move on to the poetry reading, which I am so very excited about, I do have one comment coming in from the lovely Miss Margie Longoria saying, "Hey guys, hi." Margie. Thank you for watching, Margie. You came in at a beautiful, beautiful moment, because we are about to kick off with the poetry readings where all of our lovely panelists are going to read some of their work. Disclosure, I have no idea what is about to be read, so I am so very excited for the surprise and for the emotion and for the and just for everything that's gonna come. I'm incredibly excited. It's gonna be great. So we can start off with Miss Priscilla. The floor is yours to read.
Okay, I'll share a couple of poems. One of them a little bit short, one of them a little bit long. So the first one I'll share is Tamales for Breakfast. Who doesn't love tamales for breakfast? With the comal warm enough, Abuelo throws on the tamales, corn husk and all. It took a village to prepare them. Takes only 2 to devour the last dozen. Abuelo, which is your favorite tamal? Las más rellenitas? Huerca and yours? Bean and cheese. The day is not set, but our evening of telenovelas and corajes has long been planned. Coffee swirls around the table, pressing its ground to our ears. We laugh, shaking our fingers to cool them after pulling tamales onto our plates. Pero bien tostaditas in their second serving, spreading their warmth inside us. We sit in silence and wrap our senses around this small, sheltered world. So, like I said, a lot of the poetry I write is about my family. They seem to think that I make commission out of reading them, which doesn't really happen, but they're my family, so, take advantage of that. And then this second poem I'm going to read is titled From Abuelitas Dichos, and it's dedicated to all the abuelitas in my life, which, I have a lot of biological abuelitas. I have a lot of abuelitas that I've adopted. And, it's they always have really great consejos. And sometimes they have dichos. Sometimes they have consejos that you can't really share with other people porque luego salen regañadas. But this is the poem I wrote based on all these abuelitas. From Abuelita's Dichos. Abuelita was a wonder wall of dichos. Some picosos, otros sabios, and many I could never quite figure out. She would tell us, her granddaughters, cuando alguien juzgue tu camino, préstale tus zapatos. How did she know there would be days our voice would ask for permission to be heard? That the details of our world would be a map no GPS could guide us to? Or how we would be told to start over before the starting even began? Mijita de mi vida, she'd advise us after seeing us tread obstacles. Lo que no te mate te hace más fuerte, más dura, más fría, más mala y más guapa. Wisdom she fed us with her dichos, in a means to revolt against her years of silence. Las palabras se las lleva el viento, she'd whisper, with a hope she'd cast us outside that box of stereotypes, so that we'd walk the walk against invisible borders. She collected strips of dichos, not knowing she was sowing bows of honor, believing that ausencia el más amigo presto le pone en olvido. But look at her now, word by word, a poem spoken from my mouth. Maybe I could hear her humming, Yo soy quien soy, y no me parezco a nadie. Me cuadra el campo y el chiflido de sus aires, when I doubt the 2 cents I choose to give. Because though I doubt the path I have taken, it was mine and only mine to take. Dichos become dangerous when used against doubt, as I learned from that viejita, wrapped in her layers of ropaje and rebozos, as she reminded us, quien con lobos anda, aullar se enseña. Y míranos, look at us, a family of sorts, con todos estos poetas. I look around and I can visualize Abuelita's favorite dicho, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres. In a room of nietos and abuelitas to come, I can exhale amidst an ocean of dreams and consejos that bond each and every one of us. We are bearers of her wonder wall of dichos, as we remember to take her example of living life by her motto, no cuentes tus días, haz que tus días cuenten. Those are some of the dichos from my abuelitas in my life.
Beautiful.
I love it. Just happy. It's just like the I love it. Did you want to read any more, or?
I am about to start coffee, so I think we're good for right now.
Okay.
I've had a little bit of an allergy congestion.
Okay. If you want, we can come back, like Anthony and Danielle and Julieta, and if we want, we can come back and have some more from you if you're feeling up to it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And so, Mr. Anthony, the floor is yours to share your wonderful poetry and wonderful readings. I'm incredibly excited, so take it away.
Well, I'll do 2 quick pieces now because I'm desperate to hear everybody else's words. And if there's time, we can double back. And if not, I'll get out of here with a smile on my face and something to think about for the remainder of the afternoon. And for the record, my favorite is vienen chistamales recalentados on the comal. So if anybody ever wants to invite me, I have plenty of gas in the gas tank, and I do it. Oh, and my favorite dicho is, si te juntas con cagada, te vas a manchar. So, quick poem right here. Beat poem. Piece titled, Let's Go to War. She's got those follow me into battle eyes that rumble down a cluttered street in some torrential town at midnight, where the air is filled with tension and vibrato. San Francisco is a sleeping giant, which she wakes with her hair red, calling out to me in my upstairs window loudly, wakes the neighbors, wakes the cats, wakes the bums in the alley, sends the railroad cars down the tracks, clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. She moves the city like the taxis move the working class to and from their offices and living rooms, the occasional bar to calm the nerves. Gets less than she deserves, but she still finds a way to stick it to the fat cats who sit in leather chairs and smoke their cheap cigars until about 2:45. She looks at me through my dingy window, waves me down, and I shimmy down a fire escape. Some scraped up nobody, looking like a rained out town in New Orleans, depleted. But she swings to the beat of the firefly in the night sky, and she doesn't even notice. She says she doesn't care. She makes me nervous. Turns me into a chain-smoking subway, a seasick ocean, forward motion caught in a perpetual state of role reversal. I keep going back to the start and I get stuck there. In the drum cycle of de facto segregation, but at least we're stuck together. Me, her, and her eyes. The city is a landmine of exploding possibilities, and I would follow her anywhere. Thank you. This next piece that I'm going to read is dedicated to my aunt who, unfortunately, we lost at the young age of 55 last month on the 19th to lung cancer, and she would absolutely strangle me if she knew that I had written some stuff about her, and she would probably burn me alive if she knew that I was sharing it. And I can already hear her, "You better not say nothing!" I can already hear her yelling at me from the great beyond, but she was such a force to be dealt with. This poem is called The Death of a Loved One, and it's an ode. This is for you, Bert. You came in like an atom waiting to be split, shook the rafters, shook your hips and drove the old men crazy everywhere from honky-tonks to the house of God alike, like Buddha on mushrooms, Jesus in a coffee shop, Judas at the table. You came in like a firefight, a fight with no shoes on, like Sea Hombre Mijo. You were lightning in a bottle until the bottle broke, split the atom, hit the target, a mushroom cloud that faded fast, and you were gone. Like disco, superfly, yeah, you were gone. And at the time of your passing, I danced in the rain and wrote long-winded poems about forever, how we'd see each other again someday, you playing tambourine with flowers in your hair. Young again. But now you are gone. Now you are a lump that gets stuck in my throat. Now you're a teardrop on a train track, waiting to become a distant memory like wartime brides. You were my mother's sister, and I love you for that. But now you are gone. Now there is an old man sitting at the window refusing to cry. Now an old lady dreams about the night she wished you into being. Then there you were, roomy-eyed and all that. And now that you're gone, I am wounded. I am animal. I am visceral. I'm left howling in the night. This is my broken heart. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Those were amazing. Oh, I'm always blown away, like just in awe. Like those few minutes that you're speaking is always just like you transcend. You're listening and you're in the space, and it's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Of course. And Danielle, the floor is yours for your readings and all anything that you'd like to share, anything you'd like to read. I'm excited. Just it's been so long since I've been able to like see you and speak and just listen, and I'm so excited. So the floor is yours.
Thanks so much for having me. That was very, very powerful readings earlier. I'm hungry for coffee and tamales. Thank you very much, Priscilla.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I mean, my relationship with my tias is just very, very powerful. I mean, that's pretty much, we were raised sort of by everybody in our family in that sense, by our tias, certainly by the women in our family. We all got bow and love and hugs and food and advice and everything from our tias. So our condolences, Anthony. Thanks for sharing. This book it's a work in progress. It's called Read Until You Bleed, and it's just a preview of a future. It's a manuscript, but I'm a hands-on person, so I put this together to kind of have it to see how it feels, how it looks, what the order, if the order is right, and that sort of thing. And it's children's poetry. People ask me, how'd you start writing, or what was your first poem, or that sort of thing. And I've written stuff, maybe in high school here and there that was out there, but the first time I sort of said like, oh, okay, like maybe I can do poetry. It was after my brother had passed away in a car crash, and of course, because of that situation, I mean, you don't get to say goodbye. You don't get to have any kind of last words or anything like that, and it was just traumatic for the family. And what came out of my soul, what came out of my system was children's poems, and they were funny. And I felt guilty, because like, oh my gosh, this is my response, to my brother's death, and so those are the oldest poems that I haven't, had really published, but they've been calling to me, and I've added to them to make now again like a children's manuscript of children's poetry. So this is a poem that's called Dirt. Feeling hurt, feeling like dirt. Be the fodder that grows the seed. If they treat you like, poo-poo, well, be the manure, right? Like Anthony mentioned. I mean, you're going to be filled with it, but hey, be the manure that grows the seed, and you show them. You show them that you're a mighty tree with strong roots, and you're going to bear amazing fruit. And so I wanted to, share positive vibes with young people, because we have this incorrect thought as a society that young people are not intelligent, that kids, certain topics are off limits for kids, they're taboo, and so on. And this is why we need poets as teachers like Julieta, who gets real with those kids that she's tutoring, and librarians like Priscilla, who are passionate, about their books. Anthony, who finds beauty in junk. I mean, this is what poets do. This is what creative people do. We have so many people that are treated like junk in their language, in their looks, in their social status, just because they live in a certain country or weren't lucky enough to be born in a different one. And so that's why I'm writing those kind of poems as well. And I'll share two more. This is called Frida y sus sueños. So in Emmy Perez's class for our MFA in creative writing, we exchanged, I was going to say phone numbers, but no, does anyone do that anymore? I don't even know. It's puro social media. But we exchanged these lines that we had written for ourselves as a sort of journal, as an ekphrastic piece after seeing a painting by Frida Kahlo, and so it was that one with there's that child, and she has a mask, and it's sort of mountains behind her, and it's just kind of not plain, but just very simple. And so I was happy enough to be gifted a line by Julieta. So Julieta Corpus gave me this line. Her writing, this is her writing. She said, the bus driver got lost and arrived instead at a place in ruins somewhere in Mexico, surreal Mexico, the Mexico that exists in dreams. And so I took that line and we wrote an aphorism. So the first line is repeated or rather, lines are repeated in this poem. The bus driver got lost and arrived at a place in ruins, a place somewhere in Mexico, surreal Mexico, the Mexico that exists in dreams about masks and death, deathly ill Frida and her changos with sunflowers and blue skies bloodied with red parrots attacking your skin peeling away like molten lava swallowing the moon shining on skulls, on murals. And that's a piece of a poem there that was, like I said, inspired by Julieta. So that's in my Cenzontle book. And finally, I want to share two new pieces. They're actually American sentence. So an American sentence is something from the Beat poet. I'm going blank here. Anthony, jump in. What's his name, hombre? Somebody.
Bukowski?
Jack Kerouac?
Bukowski, Kerouac, some of those guys were the Beat poets, right? And
Ginsberg.
And And Ginsberg, though, thank you,
Alan.
was the one that came up with this American sentence. So it's a haiku, right? But we Americanize everything, right? So he it's still 17 syllables, but it's all together as one line, an American sentence. And Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, he didn't like articles, so a and the, he almost never used them. And it's a different flow to this beat poem. And I'm sharing this in part because it's new, and I try to always share something new when I read something, something old, something new, something borrowed, and something very blue. So it's like my own poetry bride. Okay, and I want cake. I do want cake. I miss cake. Esto que seeing each other, missing the music. I just miss cake. I don't care if it's a virtual wedding, a cat wedding, a wedding. I just drop off some cake at my front door. Okay, I'll honk or whatever. Anyway. So it's an American sentence in the style of Ginsberg. And the other reason I'm sharing this because I'll get comments like, "You don't write like this. This is not you." Like people want to pigeonhole you and label you. And Gloria Anzaldúa was not all about that. And she's one of my inspirations as well. And Priscilla and I and Noemi started, a legacy project for Gloria Anzaldúa, the Chicana scholar and author, the queer theorist. And, labels, I mean, that's going to be something when we're gone. People are going to label us and whatever. That's their problem. That's their issue. But I write all kinds of stuff, and we can have all kinds of voices. So this is an untitled American sentence. Humans exist in a world which they are constantly recreating. Thank you. And my last one, revolution is born as society. Let me start again. Revolution is born as social entity within oppressor. So thank you so much for having me again, and I hope we hear some more from y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always a treat. It's always so good, and I like that you touched on the aspect of just we all miss like cake, man, and like sharing cake together, and like the togetherness. It's you share the food and you share the like jokes, and those stories are told, and those tamales hear the stories too, and that they're all inbred, and it's all encompassing, and it's all part of our culture, and just thank you for being you, and thank you for sharing it. It's always a treat. It's always wonderful. Thank you. And so, Ms. Julieta Corpus, the floor is yours to listen to your poetry, speak, talk. I'm so very excited to be able to hear you once again. It's been far too long.
Thank you. I'm going to share a couple of poems. As I was choosing the poems for this afternoon, it struck me that the majority of my poems from my childhood take place in San Pedro, and very few were written in the place I was born, Rio Grande Valley, Tamaulipas. So the first two that I'm going to share are inspired by Rio Bravo, Tamaulipas. We used to go every weekend and stay at my tia Lencha's in Rio Bravo because that's where my grandma lived. And we would go visit her every weekend, and no matter what the weather. So winters were especially harsh because her house was small, uncomfortable, and not very well made. So I could hear the wind through the cracks in the wall. And this one is titled Pinche Frío. Cold weather resurrects childhood recuerdos. Weekend stays at Tia Lencha's in Rio Bravo, Tamaulipas. Nocturnal winter breezes whistling through apertures, disrupting dreams. Brothers and sisters buried under blankets on a cold cement floor. Burning embers crackling from an ancient basin nearby, offering little warmth. At sunrise, I catch a glimpse of mom layering on clothes for the icy trek through barren streets to bring sustenance. Pinche frío, blessed memories. And yeah, I remember the cold. Pero ahí estábamos tercos, living all kinds of adventures. This one is very personal. Well, a lot of them are, but this one, when I wrote it, it brought back a lot of the bad that I grew up with. And I'm gonna say it, thanks to my older brother, man. He gave us a nickname. Every one of us had a nickname. Never pretty enough. Gorda, prieta, mensa, chunky, darky, stupid. As a child, these words left an imprint. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Marrana, pendeja, piggy, blackie, dumbass. Insults my older brother doled out daily. I wasn't singled out either. He assigned us all a derogatory nickname. He was unpleasant, uncouth, rude. But words will never hurt me. Bullshit. Words can burn through you, carve a permanent scar, puncture your self-worth. We endure his verbal abuse in silence. I dislike my brown skin, my bulging belly, my lack of courage to speak up. Sticks and stones, 3 decades have passed. I have forgiven him. He has never apologized. My brother, now an old, ailing man. I look and feel better than I've ever had. I graciously accept compliments from friends and strangers and believe them. But words will never hurt me. Once upon a time, they did. This other one is also from Rio Bravo. I hardly ever heard my mom say bad words. I remember uttering my first one and she caught me. Man, when your mother catches you saying your first bad word, they don't give you a birthday cake or they don't compliment your ability with words. This one is titled Iron. The first time I tasted iron was after my mother struck me on the mouth for uttering a curse word. Bent over the sink, spitting my shame, Mom went on chastising. Later, she calmed down, offered words of comfort. One of my front teeth grew crooked. Never again did I curse around her. The taste of iron, however, remained. And the word was pinche huerquilla. A little neighbor girl. And she caught me. ¿Qué dijiste, huerca? Come over here. She used to wear all these rings that my dad would take her from the United States. She was the Liberace of the neighborhood, man. And those rings hurt. Aquí está, mira. Growing crooked. This one, God of the Rio Grande Valley. God of the Rio Grande Valley, of the RGV Cenzontle and Chachalaca, God of RGV's humidity, of the drought, multiplying thirst and igniting montes, God of the glorious sunrises, of summer constellations and the perceived meteor shower, God of the eternal bougainvillea, framing every door and window, growing untamed like Texas terrain, embracing cacti, seductive fragrance, galvanic beauty, eye candy for the soul, God of pan dulce on everyone's table, of carne field tamales, barbacoa on Sundays, God or Jesus or Virgen, the faithful alternate, of capirotada, of shopping sprees in Las Flores, God of las colonias with barefoot children, las telenovelas, the old man on park benches absorbing the sun rays, chatting about politica, el juego, the new Walmart. God of los mariachis, ahua, serenading moms, singing mañanitas. God of brown hands, hammering, mowing strangers' yards. God of las pulgas every weekend, teeming with all ages, buying, selling, walking, eating, drinking, dancing. God of curanderas, giving barridas and yerberías. God of la Basílica de San Juan with its fountain of holy water. God of Friday night football and the cheering crowds, rival teams. There is no God of the border wall, porque ese es del diablo. God of mothers, God of abuelitas, God of maestras, please watch over us por los siglos de los siglos. Amén. Gracias.
Thank you. Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so very much. And I am happy that the time that we're making. I know, Priscilla, if you had any other poems that you'd like to read, I know we do have some time for you to continue sharing.
I'll share one more poem. Speaking of El Otro Lado, of Mexico, I am gringa by nationality. I am Tejana by heart, and I am Mexicana by roots. And so sometimes I get this longing where I really, really miss going to El Otro Lado. And, just going to go eat, going to go visit familia, going to the dentist. So this poem that I'm going to share is just a reminiscence of going to the dentista. Una tarde in the dentista's waiting room. Tocan una canción de Ramón Ayala. Nada me importa. I hear him croon from the speakers outside a Las Flores dentista's office. I stare outside the glass doors into a busy world where sombreros and bootleg CDs block my view from the dusty and dirty road. I hear Lucerito's voice, but I can't quite make out the song. I smell the scent of a doctor's office, making me nauseous with the fear of needles. I close my eyes for a few seconds, and in those seconds, I swallow Ramon's music with the sincerity of the gente making up this gabachitas corrido. A bit tejana, rancherita, a bit hip hop, pop, a bit classical, antiguita, but a lot Tex-Mex fresa. Tesorito, my favorite word in Ramon's vocabulary. Tesorito, I repeat, and think back to an overload of faces. My tesoritos, songwriters de mi alma. The aircon's vent throws me cool air on this typical afternoon of soleadas and aguas frescas. Mis motivos are, no matter where I go, to carry this feeling of being home, of the love I still carry for the people I loved and lost, buried and died for, to carry them as they've carried me. So sometimes the nostalgia of El Otro Lado just hits me. I really, really miss it, and especially during these times, just going El Otro Lado, I miss it.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And Anthony, I don't know if you had another piece or so before we move on to conclusions.
Yeah, I'm gonna just read one since it's Halloween month. I'm gonna read kind of a dark one. Daniel, my favorite Ginsberg line is from America, and it's the funniest one. I think it says, "When can I go to the supermarket and pay for my things with my good looks?" So I like that. This one here, Katelynn, before I read my final poem here, I want to say thank you so much for doing this. I have the opportunity to do several online events throughout every month from all over the country, and they've been super fun, but I can honestly say today I've had by far the most fun, so thank you for doing it. I loved it. It's a great format. Keep it up, please. We need you. Here we go. A circus contraption just in time for Halloween. Tippy-toe into the woods. Careful not to step on sickly spines of little boys and girls who were left behind by their parents. A deal with the damned and the losing hand has left you here with me. But don't you agree that it's wonderful? Isn't it horrifying and wonderful? Chaotic, psychotic, completely neurotic, a no jacket required, I'm a bona fide freak show. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. The witch, she has no eyes, but she can smell you. She can hear you. Be still, for she will hear you. I can hear her walking deliberate and in slow, her cloak dragging dead leaves along behind her. She'll take her time. And when she arrives, she'll take your eyes and drag you back to a place where no one gets to go except for crows and children. A dehydrated land where the sands of time have no say, so you'll thirst in there for years. I should know. I was trapped in there, but I got out. It cost me my left eye, but I got out. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king. Oh, it stings. A little, but I am king. I'm a pinwheel kaleidoscope with a spring-loaded skull, a circus contraption, a 10-in-1 grind show. All aboard the merry-go-round. Take my hand, but understand, my dear, this is not Wonderland. And you are not Alice. I see a frightened girl. Stop your trembling, or she will hear you, the witch. She's coming. She wants your eyes, and she will have them. She'll rob you of your sight and consign you to impending darkness. She is darkness and all of its rusty parts. She is the throwing out of keys and the clinking of iron chains as you try to break the locks off the ghastliness of the night. She is asleep of wanton gods when they forget their watch and leave the young exposed. She is the screams of little boys and girls. She is a rotting house. The tearing out of upstairs windows when someone is tempted into madness and finally decides to jump. She is icy fingers running down your back. She is sorrow, and you will know her. Over the hills and through the woods, faster as you go. Where you end up, we'll never know. No one will ever know except the witch. Oh, you'll get smaller in the distance, but you'll never disappear. Trust no one in this nightmare, because we're all mad here. Thank you so much for doing it, guys. I love you all. You guys were fantastic. Thank you for inspiring me.
Thank you. And can I just say, like, the lighting, and when you get closer, like the light from your screen, it's cutting shadows and making it bright, and that was a performance.
Next time I'm showing up with a flashlight.
Thank you. And thank you all so much for joining. I cannot express my gratitude enough to have you all here and not only, share the readings, and it's always such a treat and it's always such a pleasure, but also, to the Q&A aspect, like answering the questions, starting the conversations, bouncing off of each other, exchanging that, the energy and the happiness. It's just, thank you so very much for coming. And my final goodbye before we go ahead and sign off would be for all of you all to say, some final words, and definitely get those plugs. Where can we find you after this on social media and, websites and things like that? And I want to thank everyone on Facebook and YouTube for watching. Thank you so very much for dropping your comments. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for saying hi. And this is not the end of The Right Crowd. We have another panel coming up at 4 o'clock. Next weekend is the final weekend. But the beautiful thing about the internet is that these never go away. They're going to be there on Facebook and on YouTube forever to rewatch and re-experience. And I'm definitely going to be going back and like rewatching and experiencing all of these wonderful readings again. So yes, and we can go ahead and begin the sign-offs with Miss Priscilla Celina Suarez. Where can we find you after this?
If you go over to my blog, it's pcsuarez.com. You'll be able to find all the links to my social media channels on there.
Thank you so very much. And Mr. Anthony Ripp, what are your final concluding remarks?
Well, right now you can just find me on open nights like this. I'm not really promoting anything. You can find me on here, or I'll be driving by you guys' house real slow.
I'm scared. We're in the same town. I'm gonna look out. I'm just gonna be cruising.
Google Maps.
And Mr. Daniel García Ordaz, any concluding remarks from yourself?
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park along the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. So, just Daniel García Ordaz, the Poet Mariachi. You can find me on social media and all over the place, and go Cowboys.
Thank you so very much. And Miss Julieta Corpus, any final remarks before we all say goodbye?
Yes, I will be hosting, Seren Magaña and myself will be hosting a Dia de los Muertos readings on Facebook, watch party with pre-recorded videos of us reading. But I know I have Anthony sign on board. I invited a couple of videos, so I hope that everybody says yes. And we'll be remembering our dearly beloved who departed this plane of existence. So I hope you join us. It's for Friday, October the 30th at 8 p.m. or starting at 8 p.m. Gracias.
Thank you so very much. And with that, another thank you to all of our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for saying hi. And I know if you enjoyed even a fraction as much as I did listening and talking and sharing and celebrating, this was absolutely wonderful. So thank you again. And I know virtually or otherwise, this is not the last that we will see of each other. I hope to see you all soon. I miss you all dearly and wishing you all the very best in everything that you do. So thank you.
Bye. Great seeing you guys.
Bye.
Hasta luego.
Bye-bye. Nos guachamos.
Bye.
Nos guachamos.
Watch the show.